Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Summer Camp Island, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
Alex Bonilla.
Hey.
And Steve Zeck.
Hello.
We are finally talking the latest 10 episodes of Summer Camp Island that went up on the CN app, I believe, almost a month ago, and have been airing on TV. I think this is going to coincide pretty close to where the last few episodes will air on TV. They are Pajamas Party, The Sound House, Puff Paint, Susie Appreciation Day, Campers Above the Bed, Midnight Quittance, The Great Elf Invention Convention, 12 Angry Hedgehogs, Spell Crushers, and The Library. Those are the 10 episodes we're talking about on this podcast. We previously did the previous batch of 10 on a separate podcast that was earlier in the summer. Check that out at overlyanimated.com. I think we do the Summer Camp Island iTunes feed, overlyanimated.com/iTunes. And our YouTube is youtube.com/overlyanimated. So watch these 10 episodes. I think we're kind of getting into spoiler territory with this show. There's plot stuff happening. So check out, especially the last few, check out the episodes and then come back and listen to this. So yeah, there's a lot of episodes. Overall impressions or some of your favorite stuff, I guess, from this batch, Michelle.
I love this show so much. This is one of my favorite shows. It's such a good mix of cuteness and humor and like a little bit of plot and mystery, but mostly it's just there to like have a fun time and introduce you to some new characters. And I love it so much. These episodes kind of bleed together in my head because I had to watch them so much, but they're all wonderful. I do think there are a few that stand out a little above the rest, but there's not a bad episode in the bunch, so that's always nice. I just really like this show. I think it's remarkable. I really want to see more of it.
Nice. Yeah. Have you seen any Beyond, or are we caught up to where you are?
There's like I've seen like a couple, but not like a ton more.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I think it's a little unclear from this if the library is like the season finale of season 1, or it could be.
I don't know if they have like a season finale.
It's not necessarily the season finale type show, but the Spellcrushers and Library at least did seem consequentially and and sequential and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. So Michelle likes them as usual. Alex, I don't know if we've had you on Summer Camp Island Pod before. So in general impressions of the show and thoughts on these episodes.
So Summer Camp Island is a show that's taken me a while to really get into. I think the first
you don't love Hedgehog and Oscar?
I didn't.
Come on.
I loved Hedgehog. I thought Oscar was a bit too much focus. I wasn't really getting into him in the first batch of episodes. There are like fine episodes, but there's also a lot that like felt kind of fillery. However, with this recent batch, I definitely think that, at least for me, it finally feels like it's hit its stride. I think that Hedgehog getting a lot more focus is a good decision for the show because she is the more interesting character of the two. And when we focus on Oscar, we're focusing on kind of his immaturity and that kind of stuff. And I think that they're handling that in interesting ways when they decide to touch upon that. Susie is also really fun. Shame she only gets one episode in this batch. And I think in general, the format of the episodes is branching out a little bit more. That we're getting like a time travel-y episode. We're getting one that's just in a library for the entire episode. We're getting relationship stuff. We're keeping this real stuff that this show's always had. So I felt like there was a lot of variety in this batch. It was all really fun. The character stuff they decided to do felt very compelling at this point in the show. So I really think that this group of episodes is a notch of what Summer Camp Island has done so far, and it's definitely a good sign for the direction that the show is going in.
Nice. Okay, I'm glad you are joining us on the I won't say Summer Camp Island train because that'd be confusing, but the I don't know.
We got another show about trains.
The bus, you take the bus.
The cabin.
The cabin.
I think they took a ferry, so
yeah, it's on an island, so you can't really take ground transportation.
Well, let's not confuse this with Infinity Train.
We'll try not to. They're very similar shows.
Yeah, it's a train.
So dark.
Okay, so Steve, what did you think of these episodes?
Don't touch my toes, you nutcase.
Is that a quote from which episode's that from? I don't remember.
That's Susie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not as good as the last podcast quote. That was fit perfectly in. So, okay. I agree, with you guys. I really like these episodes. It's definitely more hedgehog focused. But still, though, I do feel though that the final episodes of the previous two batches are just not as compelling as Fuzzy Time. Okay. What was the episode 20? Yeah, Fuzzy Time Babies. Yeah, that was that's such a great cliffhanger, and just sort of, I always had my expectation high that the last episode is going to give me that level of cliffhanger. But other than that, I love these episodes. I really like Hedgehog, man. I like to see getting more focused here, and I do think though they're trying to parallel here Hedgehog and Oscar to Susie and Ramona, with Ramona as being like the hedgehog, sort of maturing, ready to move on, while Susie and Oscar sort of stuck in this time frame of their life, not ready to grow up. So I kind of see them going.
Yeah,
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like the comparison too.
And also the library. Guess what? Alexa's still on the show.
That was my reaction. She was not in any of the other 9 episodes, right?
She's waiting for her moment.
Yeah, but she had a little moment there. Though I do love Lucy's little plot in that episode with playing that game. Oh yeah.
Which one is Alexa?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. I don't blame for not knowing. She's the girl that doesn't wear glasses.
She goes into the first Winter Olympics.
She looks like she looks like
she looks like an alligator.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah, I love these episodes. I don't know. It would be biased, of course. Maybe Susie Appreciation Day might be my favorite, though. I kind of wondering if that takes place before the Susie Scavenger Hunt episode, since she mentioned idea of splitting Oscar and Hedgehog apart, and then in that early episode she actually does that. So
Oh, you know what? I can check for you, Steve.
Okay.
Oh, do you have the production numbers on hand, Michelle? That would be...
No, I do not, but if Steve's curious, I can find out.
Okay, we'll get that later.
That's not that important.
Well, some of these episodes definitely have to be in order, because it's like the crush, like there's certain things. The Spell Crushers has to be after the previous Crush episodes, and then Libraries after Spell Crushers.
I do know on hand that the Campers Under the Bed was technically episode 8 of the first season.
8 of the first season?
Yeah. They just didn't air it the first year. I know, but I'm glad they at least, they aired it before, like a couple episodes before the Spell Crushers, so at least that's something. But yeah, this was an early episode.
Yeah, because in previous episodes,
completely what I thought. I thought
Crush was in play from the beginning of
it seems like the Max Crush comes out of nowhere, and all these episodes are about this Max Crush. But
I thought that was developed from the Scavenger Hunt episode. So this
she just likes him. She's a cute bat boy. She likes him all the time.
Yeah, I feel like them having a special connection was always a thing, like in the background, but it didn't come into the forefront until these Crush episodes. But I think that it had always been floating around in the first season.
No, I was blinded by my Max and Oscar shipping goggles. Okay, so I was very distraught this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's a good ship. I mean, that ship's not done. He turned down Hedgehog.
Yeah, but because he's gay for Oscar. That's why. Yeah. Okay, we'll get to that.
Sorry, Hedgehog, you're just not my type. I like elephant boys. I'm so sorry.
Yes. Okay, we'll get there. Okay, that's very annoying that they withheld that episode for a long time. I mean, this show, I think this is the best group of episodes we've gotten so far. I think the show is improving, and there's a few episodes which are my favorites, I think, of the show in this batch. But the big thing that stands out is like continuity exists in these episodes that didn't exist before, and now I'm hearing that some of this continuity was artificially inserted into and should have been there the whole time. But yeah, it seems like there's like this crush on Max is like a plot arc. That's what the order presents it as. But regardless of the order, I think Spell Crushers is a huge episode for the show in it being like a thing happens that is consequential and will change the show to come after. Like, one, Hedgehog confesses to Max, and two, she gets her wand. So like these are the two biggest events of the entire show happen both in that episode, right? Like the show feels a lot more consequential than it did before. And I think this is the closest show that Cartoon Network has to Craig of the Creek in that it cannot be serialized and be successful. Like, I think I really do love Summer Camp Island, and I think it's capable of not having continuing plot arcs and being really good. But I do think that when they did introduce a little bit of continuity into these episodes, it felt a lot better. Like, I think it really worked. So I think, like, it doesn't need to be the plot heaviest show, but it was nice to see, like, Barb the elf pop up in 3 different episodes here.
Barb's so good.
Like, that's weird. Like, before is the characters are also spaced out. I guess a little bit of it was artificial. Maybe we're moving towards it in some, but it seemed like we had a Barb the elf arc. It seemed like we had a Max Crush arc. It seemed like Hedgehog learning magic thing. I mean, that wasn't too much of an arc here, but it culminated, and we got Werewolf Hedgehog back in one episode. Like, there's a lot more plotty stuff that I think worked really well. This batch of episodes has my favorite episode of Summer Camp Island, Midnight Quittens, for sure.
What?
Definitely my new favorite of the show. I still love Feeling Spacey from very early on, probably my second favorite, and then I think Spell Crusher is probably my third favorite. So like there's two of the top 3 here. I also really love the Sound House and Campers Above the Bed. Those are 2 really good episodes as well.
Yeah.
I got thoughts on Campers Above the Bed.
Okay. And I think the thing, I guess, holding the show back would be that the average, I agree there's no bad episodes, but all the rest of the episodes are kind of, I would say, like good, not great, which which when you don't have continuity can be a little bit monotonous. But I still think it's like, personally, I connect to the show and I love the like tone and stuff. So I'm going to enjoy it regardless. I think we're starting to get some standout episodes. I think I'd like to see the average episode raise a little bit to come here, but I think there's some impressive stuff from this batch of episodes from Summer Camp Island. I mean, I want to go to Spell Crushers first because
go right for it.
Yeah, well, I was like, what? How is so much stuff happening here? Like,
well, this is like the anti-Miraculous Ladybug episode, that's for sure.
Oh, so you mean this is a show where the character has a crush on someone and confesses it like immediately? Like,
no, that honestly,
wow, a mature handling.
We should take some kudos to the team for doing this, because like, how many shows in the 90s and the early 2000s did we have like some characters crushing on another be like literally the arc of 5 seasons of culmination? That was such a trope for a while.
Oh no, you don't watch Ladybug. We're still doing
even Gravity Falls.
Well, Ladybug is now more of an anomaly though. Yeah. But like, this was the main way that like relationship stuff would happen. It was like this big deal, and like we had so many will they won't they fake out episodes leading up to the culmination. The culmination usually wasn't that good. Like, the hype was too big at that point if it'd been building for seasons. But this is like, nah, it's a crush. It doesn't matter that much. It doesn't get in the way of Hedgehog doing stuff for more than one episode, really. And then she gets resolved from it, and she can move on with her life. It's so great. I love it so much.
Even Gravity Falls took a whole season for them to actually do that, so this ups the ante.
Apparently this took a season, but we just didn't know it. But
didn't know it.
I feel like this is the most like pure portrayal of a crush I feel like I've seen. Like, usually it's like it's like legitimized and it feels like love and the audience feels it. I don't know, maybe it's just because it was so concentrated the way we got it, but it really just felt like a crush. And it's not like we needed to see them interact all the time. It's not like we needed to see Hedgehog freak out all the time. It was like kind of like more of a subtle thing. And it really just felt like it was supposed to represent a childhood crush that doesn't go anywhere. And I don't know.
The Max Crush song is very catchy.
Yeah, we have this Crush song come in multiple times here. It's
so
like,
I kind of wonder though, perhaps maybe Max, if she ever saw Hedgehog's wolf form, maybe he actually would like that, would be attracted to that.
Oh, maybe.
Bats like, well, I don't know, a vampire werewolf thing. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Nocturnal buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex, what was your reaction when you learned Matt? Yeah, you potentially saw it before that Max might have or Hedgehog might have crush on Matt's, and how do you think it was handled in Spell Crushers?
Well, I think it was handled like a realistic way of handling a crush, where it kind of consumes. At first it might be in the back of your head, but slowly it gets bigger and bigger in your head to the point where you can't focus on things, as hedgehogs want to do. Go to your instinct of trying to distract yourself with other parts of your life, like work or exercise, and it doesn't work. And we deal with the Barb like showing kind of the logical explanation of how to get rid of it. It's like, oh well, you just got to admit it, and then it'll get out of your head. But then the hedgehog immediately is like, wait, I can't do that. Like I have to like think about the consequences and stuff. But eventually she gets around to doing it. So I think that the whole cycle of how the crush is developed over the 2 episodes, and how she gets to the conclusion of saying it, you have the awkward conversation of Matt's and having to reject her, was like, hey, can we still be friends? They say yes, they'll still be friends, but obviously after this we still need to see like another episode post this to see how that's handled. So like I think the good part is that it feels sort of resolved, but like you still have an opening to like deal with with deeper consequences to this type of stuff. So I just think that this episode does a good job of going through the whole arc of what this kind of emotion is to a lot of people.
I thought this was gonna be a whole fake out thing, that the person had the Max that we saw, the Hedgehog confessed to, would be like a fake that Betsy may have created. Like that's what I thought we were going for right there, like a little like trick right there. But they actually did it for real.
Yeah, a lesser show would have prolonged this agony, but they nipped it in the bud, and I appreciate that a lot.
I think it like fits Hedgehog's character to eventually confront this head on, especially when it's distracting from like a larger goal she has. This is just such a good episode for Hedgehog too. Like one of my favorite parts of the show comes in this episode when we learn of Hedgehog's 95-year plan. Is that right?
I don't know. It's so good. She like is gonna retire to a Tuscan villa, and I like that. Like she has aged beautifully, but Oscar's like in a wheelchair, decrepit by the pool in the background.
Yeah, let's go over her plan.
Life plan, yeah.
That's good. That's nice. And we see the times of the time episode as well. But let's go over her plan because it's the best. Age 12, get a wand.
Yes.
Age 15, become a witch. Age 25, combine science PhD and witchcraft MFA to invent first carrot poodle hybrid. I want to talk about this one. So. My favorite part is the witchcraft MFA, like that. This is like a arts degree you can get is witchcraft, and she's gonna get that and her science PhD, and I love that. And then age 38, accept Nobel Prize and retire to your Tuscan villa. I also love that it's retiring at 38. Like what a life!
Yeah, I know. That's why you gotta start early with your life plan so you can get there faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's like a degree for magic. Maybe I have a crossover with Owl House, perhaps, or Little Witch Academia, or Owl House more likely. But
yeah, that raises questions on the acceptance of magic in the larger society of Summer Camp Island world. But I don't want to get into that. I just love that so much. And the Crush song in this episode, and this episode features Betsy heavily, who we had not seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Betsy. She's training with Hedgehog, and she's going to test her on the level 1 witch test. And then we see another one of my favorite scenes from the show is when she's like comforting Hedgehog after she confesses to Max.
Yeah, I love that. And that also I think was a callback to the Ghost Boy episode.
In what way?
It mentioned that the Ghost Boy was sort of her boyfriend in the past, and he just disappeared as far as she knows. And could that be what you referred to, knowing how she feels the heartbreak?
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, and one thing I'll appreciate is like Hedgehog's crush is everyone's very empathetic when they hear about it. Like Barb tries to solve it with science, and Betsy's like, yo, I know how that feels. Like nobody's judging Hedgehog. She's just allowed to feel her feelings, and everyone acknowledges like, yeah, that's rough, and I'm sorry. This is probably gonna hurt a lot for you. And like that's kind of nice too, because like that's also very relatable. It's not always fun having a crush, and I like that they acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that's what this whole arc was about, and it was such a great portrayal of that, of the kind of the pains of that, or the reality of dealing with it. Barb's trying to solve it with science involves a whole thing which just amounts to confessing to the person you like, which I love. She's like trying to quantify it as a science thing, but really it's just confessing to them. The crush fashion that she has. And then Hedgehogs, she's also like trying to play basketball to get it over the crush. I feel like that was a callback to an earlier episode. Yeah, and then that passes the test after, and also Oscar's really surprised at this crush too.
Yeah, he had no idea somehow. He's her best friend. He couldn't figure it out.
That's because his maturity level is just so young.
Yeah, that's probably it.
I don't know if his immediate reaction his immediate reaction instead of like worrying about Hedgehog is, I can't wait to tell my mom.
I know.
That's so wrong.
Oscar. Why is that wrong? Mom's is one of his best friends, probably.
But that's
so
really
sweet.
I know. I'm saying telling, like, without Hedgehog's consent, telling another person about that stuff.
Well, maybe he needs to ask her first. That's true.
But and then the episode ends with like kind of unclear, I guess, if she gets the wand, although you get a good feeling, and then the next episode starts and she has her wand. Yay. Yeah.
He loses it. Like
let's talk about the library. So Hedgehog, basically you can kind of ignore everything except Hedgehog has the wand, and then at the end of the episode Susie takes her wand, and that's the cliffhanger we end on.
And I'm worried what could Betsy be in trouble for this? That's my main concern right there.
Yeah. Are we going to see an argument between Betsy and Susie?
And
like
also,
Betsy's the nicest witch, so I feel like she's gonna find a way to get off the hook.
Yeah, but
she's so even-tempered.
Yeah, but if she finds out though it's Susie's responsible for her boyfriend disappearing, that could also cause a rift.
That's true.
That's a secret no one knows yet, so we'll see. But first character I sort of loved and hated at the same time was Stuart, because he was so annoying, but he was funny how annoying he was. I still wanted to punch him.
Okay, it's Stuart the Dragon.
Yeah.
I was unclear on what he was until we saw his driver's license. Then it's
yeah, I wasn't clear on what he was too. He just looked like a big lizard boy.
Is he like a devil creature? But no, it's a dragon on his driver's license. Alex, do you have a favorite plot from the library? Out of we get a plot for every character.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Hedgehog trying to get the book a lot, but also Lucy having a book club with the Yeti was also interesting, and seeing them flip tables and get angry. So that was all pretty fun too.
Yeah, like seeing Alexa.
She actually got to talk.
Yeah, that was surprising. And I just like how all the stories kind of resolved each other at the end. They kind of tied together. Like Summer Camp Bound usually doesn't have this many plots going on, almost never, I think. And they kind of all merged together at the end. It was nice.
But I'm just trying to pump though. I kind of I felt kind of ripped off that Hedgehog loses the one in one episode. I was hoping you could have stressed a little bit more, in between them.
Maybe there are episodes in between, but
there are more.
Okay.
That's gonna be bad if we I guess if she gets her wand back in another episode, then you show the other episodes after that. But yeah, we'll see.
No, it's not like that. I just don't think that her having a wand shows up for a while. Basically,
yeah, I'm sure she'll get it back. That seems like a thing the show wants her to have a wand. That'd be interesting.
I'm still wondering, is this a sort of hint of we're getting closer to the reveal of there's a magic council and stuff we got to deal with?
No, stop it, Steve. I don't want a magic council on the show.
I don't want a magic council, but I do think I want to know who gave Susie her wand and who started the Witch Island. Yeah. Because there's a story there.
What if Ramona gave?
Yeah, well, let's talk about Ramona. Ramona's a big piece of this puzzle, and we have 2 episodes featuring Ramona here. In Susie Appreciation Day, Susie calls Ramona, and we learn that Susie's purposefully distancing herself from Ramona, but is upset about it. And then Ramona features heavily in Midnight Quittens as well.
And that one definitely hints that definitely at some point there's going to be something between Oscar and Lucy. So
let's get to that. Okay, let's get to that in a second.
The future.
That's your headline.
That's not the headline. Ramona first. Steve, aren't you a big Ramona fan? Are you happy she showed up in these?
I'm
episodes?
happy she's back.
Yeah. How do you think the show's using her?
I think using her just fine. It's kind of like showing that she's kind of this cool side. She's just because she got old does not mean she can't be young at heart. And I think that's sort of a lesson that I guess Susie has to learn. Like, just because you can age and still, doesn't mean you have to age mentally. And I think Susie's sort of afraid of that. So, and Oscar, he is just classic Oscar to screw up, but I love him
in Midnight Quittens.
Yes.
Yeah, tired, drunk Oscar. But Ramona, it seems like she might just precious. Be a presence on the show to come.
And I'm still wondering, is she like related to Betsy in some way? Is there like their descendant, her ancestor? I kind of thinking that could be something they're going for it there. I don't know. We'll see. But if so, I don't think Betsy even knows that or even knows that Ramona exists. So,
yeah. Okay. I mean, it could be something like that could be in play. Alex, any Ramona thoughts?
That conversation that Ramona has with Susie is very interesting and a good follow up to the previous episode that revealed they were friends, and you can tell the tension going on there, Ramona trying to reach out to Susie and Susie feeling the need to answer but then just cut it off, so that and then seeing Susie's reaction is very it raises more questions. So I definitely enjoy our continuing to tug at that string of what, because also that will relate to what is Susie's whole deal with staying kid forever, and how, if that relates at all to Ramona, who's this old wise woman in the mountains. So I definitely want to see more, and I just think that in general, Susie Appreciation Day is a very good episode, since it just continues to build out Susie's character in terms of how she acts when she's alone, which I think is usually the more interesting moments that we get with her. So that's just another block on the Susie tower that we're building.
I kind of think, I wonder though, if when you get older, do you maybe lose some magic power? Because I haven't really seen Ramona much in action. Is that why Susie refuses to grow up? But she was
zipping around making that soup.
Yeah, she's pretty fast.
I know. I know.
But yeah, I think there's something like that's in play. Yeah, I think Susie Appreciation Day, mostly Oscar and Hedgehog just stuck inside while Susie having a staycation. I think that was a great Susie character episode. But I also
I love the pet names Alice has for Susie, like Potato, and I forgot the other one. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, is Alice? Yeah, I guess Alice is in that episode. That's true. Not a lot of Alice, but she's prominent there. But the bigger thing is not a lot of Susie, right? As we were talking about. So this is basically her only big episode here. I think originally we're is she a main character? And I think she's firmly supporting at this point with the show. So I don't know, Michelle, do you have any? You love Susie. Is there any dislike of how we're not using Susie enough here?
I think the show is just trying to balance focus on certain characters and chunks and other characters and other chunks. So I don't doubt that we won't see a ton more of Susie later. She's a pretty popular character. I was on a brain thought for a totally different thing. When Alex was talking about Susie, why she wants to stay kid appearance, I was thinking again, what Steve was saying about how, maybe Susie hates Oscar so much in particular because he reminds her so much of herself, in that she doesn't really want to grow up and have responsibilities, even though she is kind of in charge of the camp now. So I think that's very interesting. And I wonder if there's something there, deeper about why she's doing what she's doing on the island.
I kind of also think we probably have less Susie than before, was because earlier was very Oscar focused, and now since we're focusing on
she's
Hedgehog,
like the main antagonist, and Susie doesn't hate Hedgehog as much as she hates Oscar.
Well, maybe now she does a little bit, but
I do think it is really nice that Hedgehog. I mean, I guess like whenever I see shows where there are two presumed main characters, and it's like a boy main character, and then a best friend, especially if the best friend's a girl, that their whole thing ends up being like this very predictable, like the boy's not as competent, but that's why he's fun main character and he messes up a lot, and the super overly competent girl best friend is there to help balance it out, but her thing is always in service to him messing up in his own goals. Well, so I really appreciate this show for giving Hedgehog so much of her own inner life. Like, she's got honestly so much more going on than Oscar. She's really good at sports. She's a werewolf. She's really good at science.
She's a werewolf.
And she's really good at magic. Like, she's got so many sub things going on all the time, and she has her own episode focuses now. And I think that's a great decision they made, because I think that she is a really interesting character, and it's good that they're paying attention to her. It actually reminds me a lot of like Hey Arnold, because that show started off where Helga Pataki was like just like purely supposed to be like a comical love interest to Arnold's character, but because she was so good and the voice actor was so funny, like her role in that show grew exponentially in the seasons to follow, and now she's like the best character of the show. And I don't know, maybe something similar could happen to Hedgehog, and it's not hard to see why. She is way more interesting and she has a lot more going on, and so I appreciate the show for giving her all that stuff that's her own, that isn't about Oscar, because she should have her own character interests.
Well, the show is self-aware, though, of the fact that Oscar is so dependent on Hedgehog, and Hedgehog really is the competent one. So at the very least, the show knows that. So
I like that Hedgehog is the Helga Pataki of the show. Does she have like a shrine to Max? Is that Hedgehog?
In her mind.
In her notebook.
She literally did in her mind.
In her notebook, she did. She uses her journal for everything. I'm sure she has drawings in there of all kinds of stuff.
I think Hedgehog is supposed to be a co-lead from the beginning of the show, and I think the show's done a good job of sustaining that. There's a little bit more of Oscar focus in the beginning, but I think that's a main storyline of these 10 episodes is let's go over the episodes that are quote unquote Hedgehog episodes. Hedgehog being the main focus. I think the Sound House is a Hedgehog episode. Campers Above the Bed is definitely a Hedgehog episode. 12 Angry Hedgehogs is a Hedgehog episode. Spell Crushers is a Hedgehog episode.
Is it weird for me to think that Hedgehog is sort of the Jake to Oscar's Finn?
So I think I think it's, I'm trying to say, I think it's not like that. Like, I think she's not the sidekick character. I really think it's,
I thought they were co-leads. That's what I always thought.
I really do think the show is portraying them as co-leads at this point. And this is a big batch of episodes for Hedgehog. I think she was, and her being the focus, I do agree she's more interesting. I also simultaneously think Oscar is great, and he's like, I continue to think he's like the most interesting main character in this type of show.
When Alex was saying he found Oscar kind of boring, I was like, that's interesting, because last year when we first talked about the show, one of our conclusions was he's actually one of the more interesting main characters who isn't just like purely bland for everyone to be able to identify and project onto him. Like, he has a lot of insecurities, and that's what makes him a little more memorable, frankly.
Well, that I agree with. Like, the main thing that they're focusing on, especially in this batch of episodes, is his insecurities, his worries about not seeming interesting enough. And those are very relatable issues. I think that the fact that he's getting less episodes is probably reflective of that. There's only so much you can stretch out of that. But when we decide to, I think that previous episodes that have dealt with that have not stuck in my head. But in this batch, stuff like Puff Paint, for example, like that gets I think a little deeper into Oscar's mindset and the struggles that he's going with, which are a little different than what Hedgehog's going through, and also in Campers Above the Bed, like dealing with like having to learn boundaries, learn about privacy, and how like that doesn't come naturally to some people, and they have to eventually get to a place where they respect their friends' privacy. Like, that's also a thing that everyone needs to go through at some point in their lives. So I definitely think that Oscar has interesting moments. On the whole, as has already been mentioned, I think Hedgehog has a lot more going on, so that's why I gravitate towards her episodes more. But I definitely agree that like Oscar does have stuff going on too.
And one thing also like Hedgehog, she definitely has a connection with a character I really like, and that's Betsy. So
yes,
that's
Betsy. I love Betsy because she's like the nice big sister, whereas Susie is like the big sister who's a butt. You know,
Yeah.
so and that's something that's been teased since earlier this season. Like they started having a bond once they both realized they had werewolf personas. So the fact that she then is teaching her magic, it's like, oh, she like is taking her under her wing because she sees something special about her, and they can relate to each other on this other level because of the whole werewolf thing. So it's like a nice steady progression too.
Yeah, so about Betsy, as much as I really do like Betsy and I want to like her a lot, I think like in order for us to be like Betsy's this great character, I think she needs to be in more than like 2 episodes of the show. So she's a little bland, I think.
She has more screen time than Alice, at least.
I think Alice has more screen time overall, but both of them I think should probably. We do focus a lot on Oscar and Hedgehog. I think I agree that a little bit of what we're doing with Oscar fatigue in this batch. Like I think we're going to move on to some different stuff with Oscar soon, and I'm a little eager to do that, even though I have really liked what we've done in the past. We've done, kind of the stuff you guys have talked about, kind of over and over, I think, with him, which is okay. I mean,
okay, well, hang on, counter. So in the Sound House, it is the best Oscar bit.
Yes, okay, that's a great Oscar play.
He is like so into role playing being a mom with his egg, and it's the funniest stuff in the world.
And
I love it.
And they had a reference to the movie Big with the whole bridge, the piano bridge.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did. That was nice.
Yeah, I do really like the Oscar plot in Sound House. Okay, we talk about. We keep delaying my favorite episode. We can talk about Sound House because that is Werewolf Hedgehog in the beginning, and it's like, oh, this is back, yay! That was and she hears the Sound House thing, and we meet Barb here, who's the head of the elves, and there's stuff about like these spotted bears. A lot
the spotted
on.
bears are terrifying.
No, they just want to protect the island.
They're so angry, and they're like eating her Sound House. What is up with that?
Yeah,
how's that helping?
It'll help. I don't know, but it helps. They're protectors.
They're going to be protecting by killing everything on the island. So they're only protecting the island, not the inhabitants.
Well, all they do is kill, but they only are when they're summoned. But because they were summoned, they're like, "What do we kill? Okay, let's just kill this thing."
That's a weird explanation.
They have no bias in what they murder.
Yeah.
The main thing is like Hedgehog bonding with Barb and being an engineer for Barb's like Rube Goldberg machine here, and Hedgehog's like helping out with that.
It's a Barb Goldberg
machine.
There you go. She makes a point of telling us that.
Also, that's her last name. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so
and voiced by Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
So
okay.
Amazing. Yeah, this is
I didn't realize.
So many episodes because of that.
This is why Barb's amazing.
Wait, so okay, the concept of this character is a play on Rube Goldberg machine, and then it got Whoopi Goldberg to voice her, and they named the character's last name Goldberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has layers.
This is like the weirdest, but it's also just a character that shows up multiple times. This is the stupidest / best character foundation I've ever seen, I think. Now that we like, I can't believe it. Okay. I do like her. And then I think the standout plot is Mama Oscar and, baby pterodactyl OJ.
Yes, OJ.
Well, and sentient egg. Sentient egg and the
egg,
horror when
the egg cracks,
weirdly adventure timey when he screams and then feeds so daintily.
It was adventure timey. I really like this episode, the Sound House. I think the baby pterodactyl is really cute.
Yeah.
And,
when it gets born and he's like, "My baby, you look just like me." It's just so good. I love Mama Oscar.
Mama Oscar's good, and I think that was a great plot line for him, and also very progressive, having Oscar being a mom being a thing in the show.
Also, there's a line later when I've watched this episode a lot because I love it so much, and I was like, when I was told to make the promo, I was like, we gotta put in that baby pterodactyl. It's the best part of the episode. And my boss kept being like, Michelle, we can't show it like sucking on his nose. It's like too weird. And I was like, oh, okay. So like I'll figure out something around it. So we just had chopping instead. But I will say one of the other best lines is when he's on the pterodactyl and they're flying around and the pterodactyl keeps saying like, I'm hungry. And Oscar's like, nah, no, honey, mama's sore. I'm just like, Oscar's really into this role play.
Well,
I'm impressed.
Also shows why Oscar's so close to his own mother. So
that's true. There's some connections there.
He wants to emulate his mom. That's a good point.
It's in the show, the sucking on the nose. Why is that too weird?
It's out of context. I think
there's the context. There's barely any context.
I saw his point.
The show is weird.
Look,
sure.
You're not paying attention to the TV. You turn your head for a second and you see something sucking on something. Like, it's like, whoa.
What is that?
I'm glad you worked hard to get OJ in. Michelle.
I did. I worked really hard.
OJ's the best. Okay. I like Soundhouse a lot. Okay, can we talk about my favorite episode, Midnight Quittance? Please?
Okay.
Sure.
Does anyone else love this episode? I think this is by far the best episode of the show.
It's one of the most interesting episodes. You get this whole backstory to how time exists, and there's this weird ritual that keeps time happening in the right order. That's super cool.
And we see little baby Susie at some point, right?
Yeah, that part was like both freaky and super interesting at the same time.
Yeah, so I think for most of this episode's like good, it's going along, and then you get to the part where the linear time breaks down, and it was just like, oh my god, this is incredible 2 minutes of media. Like I mean, this is the type of thing I love, as covered on this podcast. I love time, playing with episodes that play with time, episodes that separate people in time, and just seeing the music and the flashing of images, I think, was so effective. With seeing various points in Oscar's life, you saw the spanakopita thing connect to the beginning. That was incredible. And then Oscar's like, he can change things, and then he gets the salt and it goes back. And just that sequence was, I thought it was like transcendent. Like I really, really loved it.
And like it switches to POV in the middle of it, because first you're seeing it from the outside, but then you're seeing it from Oscar's eyes, and like he got his big transparent eyes over the different scenes. But like it's just the switch in format as well in the middle. It's a very creative way of handling that kind of framing that we're seeing more of.
And Oscar knows a lot about his future, so he has to pretend to be surprised when certain stuff happens, right? It's up to when he's an old man.
Unclear if this is like a timelines thing where what happens to him in the future might be different than this, but there's a point where Lucy is kissing him, as covered.
And it looks like they're teenagers, they look much older, so...
Yeah, they were like on a date, so they're at least teens.
Yeah.
Date.
Date. Like they both know it's a date, unlike when you're a kid and someone says, do you want to like go to the pizza place? And you don't know if it's a date.
And now I do wonder if Oscar's going to be awkward around her when she's...
they might. I could see them doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, he just played dumb. He's sort of a dumb kid. He can play dumb, so...
He's sort of a dumb kid. That's true.
You mean he can play dumb without trying?
By being dumb, yeah. He's just dumb.
By being dumb.
And look, he's traumatized by seeing like his old age and his baby all in one thing. Like that could mess somebody up. And like the whole just like kissing in the middle of that is just like a blur.
I think he's gonna block it out. This is our minds cannot process seeing our whole lives flashing at that. Like I think he's especially Oscar. I don't think this is gonna affect him too much. But I could see them doing a gag with Lucy and Oscar. That was like that moment came out of nowhere. And just the whole myth of time, they're reading from the time book, and it's they offer and their distinct animation style during this part too, which is another part of the episode I love. When
really nice.
They offer the soup every year, so the time only moves forward like an arrow. I don't know why this is BoJack Horseman, but it's actually a very similar episode to Time Zero. Honestly, like they end kind of similarly in some ways. But
in some ways, yeah.
They end with these time sequences, but the abstract sequences. That part, how the episode ties together with what they're talking about in the beginning. I don't know. I just think it's so good, this episode.
Mm-hmm. Also, just the general explanation of the whole lore of this was done in an efficient way, where like it's obviously very foreign, but also it makes sense in this world enough, and it's done in like a way of like a normal religious celebration, just with monsters.
Mhm.
So like, it just the way it was done, felt very cozy in a weird way.
It was cozy despite it being like
Yeah.
this weird mythology. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
It's a fantastic episode. What haven't we talked? Campers above the bed.
Oh yeah.
So this is not, I guess, this is not like a Hedgehog's mind. It's just a monster under her bed universe, I guess.
Yeah, that's where they live. That's where all of them live, apparently.
Yeah, so they go, we learn Hedgehog has a crush on Max and is like, what? And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Max song
If I-
starts playing, which is
If
the
I was
best.
drinking something, I'd be spitting
Yeah,
that
right.
out.
That's that type of moment. But then Monster Under the Bed, which I guess is a character before. I don't really remember him though.
Yeah, he's like talked a little. He's kind of sassy, but he's not a major character.
Oh, he just talks sometimes. Okay, yeah. That makes
Oh.
sense. Then they go to the hedgehog, their hedgehog world, and we see all these hedgehog aspects, and they have to try to get the diary back that she's writing in. Yeah, and it's also Hedgehog's all about like her arc is about wanting her privacy respected.
Oh yeah, and I do have a thought about this though. Do other characters have their own like
Right.
under the bed?
Yeah,
world?
this one was just for Hedgehog. I wondered
And-
about that too.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure though, if there's a Susie world, unlike Hedgehog, Susie would be totally into it. She would
Yeah,
love.
she would live
She
there.
could
Yeah.
finally have her eyebrow museum if that
Yeah,
happened.
the only thing is,
Curated
Forgot about the
eyebrow
eyebrow
museum.
museum.
the only
Oh
thing
my
is though, the only thing is like Hedgehog though, she's very private about certain things. But if you just don't go over the line, she would enjoy her own paradise, her own world dedicated to herself. She'd be into that. Some people
Oh,
enjoy
God.
that.
Now I just want to talk about Susie's eyebrow museum
Yes.
again, but that was not this episode. But I thought this was just like a very visually creative and like a lot of concepts that the hedgehog based things the Hedgehog world had explored, and it had like clear character arc too. So I thought it was a very good episode.
I really appreciated Hedgehog Speech too, because I feel like that's something that a lot of creators who have found success in their work kind of feel too. Because at some point, if you're a fan of somebody, you do have this impulse to kind of put them on a pedestal. But her whole argument is like, look, I'm still a person. I have weird, embarrassing things just like anyone else, and you don't deserve to know about that. I deserve to have that just for myself. And if you respect me, you should respect my privacy. And I thought that was a really good message to remind people about in the real world, because that's very true.
Yeah.
Leave people alone, even if you like them. Let them have their privacy. They're people too.
So
And
you're
they-
saying, go ahead, Alex.
Well, and even with the relationship between Oscar and Hedgehog in this episode, where Oscar feels like being a best friend is like, oh, well, I should know a lot more about you.
Should know everything about you.
Yeah, and Hedgehog treats it as, well, I'm your best friend, but that doesn't mean that I want to share everything with you. And it's like differing perspectives on like two people in the same relationship, and one has to kind of come around to the side of the other and understand the boundaries. But like even within friendship, sometimes that's the thing that you gotta like learn, figure out like where's the line. And that's for Oscar and Hedgehog, this is an important episode.
Oscar often gets it wrong, it seems, in this show.
Yes. Well, he'll like figure it out at the end, but he starts off being kind of wrong, especially when it comes to Hedgehog.
Yeah,
like that's similar to the
fix something.
Sasquatch episode too, when like she gets mad at him for ruining her sandwich, and she's like, "Just let me be mad. Just give me my space." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Maybe I should try to fix it though."
Mhm.
Like that's his impulse, and it just takes him a while to figure some stuff out.
It seems though, yeah, he always makes the trumps when he's on his own. He doesn't have Hedgehog to guide him in the right direction.
Oh, that's why the scavenger episode's so funny. And I will let you so Oscar is paired with Lucy for that episode. So
Yeah,
like
true.
maybe it's foreshadowing.
It's happening. I think Michelle earlier was saying that we the Steven Universe fans are the monsters under the
my
bed, and then
God.
Hedgehog is Rebecca Sugar. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I think Rebecca maybe gets it more than some, but like I think for any kind of fandom of anything, it definitely happens to people. Especially, with social media now, like, it's so easy to just like creep into someone's DMs and bother them on a Sunday or something, Yeah. And it's good to take a step back and be like, look, this is a person too. Maybe they make this thing I love, but like, do I have the right to just try to get something out of them because I like them and they don't know who I am? So yeah, I think for everyone, but like, yeah, also for Rebecca, poor Rebecca.
Yeah, I just chose the most popular, but you could apply to any of the shows. But okay, that good episode there. We haven't talked at all about Pajamas Party.
Oh, I have to say something first before we talk about that, and I just have to say I was wrong. You were right
about what?
About Pajamas' gender, because I know
Who said Pajamas was a girl?
On the last podcast, because Pajamas so reminds me of BMO from Adventure Time.
I get that.
And like,
Pajamas uses she/her pronouns at the very least.
So she/her pronouns.
So that was a surprise, but but we see big Pajamas episode. We don't get much Pajamas other than this, and Pajamas afraid of Oscar growing up without her, and it's this line about like, just make my heart icy cold, and Pajamas. They see a toad doctor. I think the best quote of the episode is Oscar's like, college is when you read books and go $100,000 into debt.
Hashtag relatable.
Yeah. And then at the end we see Jim Jams.
Jim Jams.
I don't remember if we knew they were Ramona's PJs, but then Susie decided.
I didn't know that.
Okay, that was a reveal. Originally Ramona's, and then Susie's. The Susies decided to stay 15 together forever. Yeah. He was happy being passed on the new kids, and then Pajamas is okay with that at the end. There you go. Like seeing a lot of Pajamas. Jim Jams popping up is good. As a funny episode with the Toad Doctor and everything. I liked it.
I felt bad for the grubs at the end. He was like way too excited to eat it. They were like screaming and running for cover in his office, and I just felt real bad for them.
Yeah, Alex?
It just reflecting again the theme of not wanting to, struggling with growing up, as Susie is to her way. Maybe Pajamas is also afraid of change and maturity, and so that seems to be a theme throughout the show with various characters.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very relatable thing for kids too, right? Because like, if you're so used to being a kid, you've never not been a kid. So how do you adjust to more responsibility when you're used to not having any? So it makes sense that it's a reoccurring thing for a show targeted at children also.
Yeah.
Hey, look at us. We're watching these shows intended for kids. So.
We could be grown up and watch good shows. It's fine.
I know. That's what I'm not trying to say here. So
you never stop growing up. That's the real life lesson.
Let's talk puff paint. For me, this is about Oscars. They all go inside paintings. No one likes Oscars, but with this Puffy sniffing of a flower. I think the biggest thing in this episode is like this commentary. Dark means art. Like this commentary on how people are like only liking dark things, and that's what suffering in art, and that's what that is. And then we learn like Oscars is good too at the end. And I feel like there's a really funny sequence with Oscar like being like, "There's 3 flowers and 2 dogs. It's crazy." Like,
there's so much going on. This one broke up with its flower. It's an emotional roller coaster.
And this also could be a hidden Oscar Lucy episode too, since Lucy was sort of like the top painter everyone like loved in this episode.
Everyone
and Oscar
respected hers the most.
Yeah, I know. So, like I said, it could be something there. We'll see.
I think I also like grown-ups have bindles was a quote in that too. This is a fun episode too with I like the concept of the going inside the paintings, like the commentary on societal perceptions of art and stuff, and it was just funny.
Also, just like the appearance of what an artist looks like when he falls in the woods. And
it's like the tree's like, it's you're an artist.
Yeah, no shoes, a scruffy beard. You must be a great artist.
Yeah, so there's some good commentary. What have we talked about? Great Elf Convention. So there's Barb is back. We meet Barb's daughters, and they get the invention hat on. They keep, there's like a theme of like which sibling has it harder, and they have to keep giving them more time. Then the invention hat breaks. Then the last daughter is like a bird pooping idea, a poop on the bird.
No, I love it because like the hat's broken. They put the janky broken hat on her anyway. They scramble the life out of her brain, and then she has to go on stage and give a presentation. And you see that she's like pretty on edge to begin with, but then her idea just keeps going more and more off the rails until the finale, which is just like, you poop on its head, and everyone is just like, what? And they disqualify her immediately.
Yeah, I also just like the other two's like ideas that are presented as great ideas, including put your elbow down before reaching for your drink in the cup, or for putting your drink in the cup holder. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite, the meet and cough.
Meet and cough.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Yeah. Introduce yourself. Yeah.
I need to try that. I'm waiting for the face versus names person.
You're gonna try.
That's something you need to coordinate beforehand, though.
Yeah.
These are the ideas that elves come up with. Okay, these are inventions. And
that's such a relatable episode for me from Oscar's perspective, him being an only child, just like I am. I feel the same way sometimes. I just don't get sibling dynamics because I'm really not part of that.
Yeah, there's a lot on that too. I like what the episode did with that, and I like seeing Barb again. And this is just the zany world of the elves and their inventions, which are just like societal. They're just like life hacks, basically, is what they're inventing.
But they're the ones who invented it. We just don't know.
Yeah,
That's
we just didn't know that the elves invented all the life hacks, including putting pants on one leg at a time. Yeah.
And we learned something about Hedgehog, that she has an older brother, which I never knew.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll see that expanded upon. Yeah. Okay.
Also, I love that Oscar keeps accidentally saying insulting things about Barb's age, and she keeps being like, "Come here, smack! You got a mosquito on your face. My bad." Like, she does it twice, and it's funny both times.
But Barb in general is just very sassy in all the episodes she shows up in. She's a very good addition to this to this universe.
Yeah, let's have Barb in every episode.
Hope to see more Barb.
Last one, 12 Angry Hedgehogs. Oscar accidentally invents cloning and then makes evil hedgehog clones, and then they get absorbed back in the hedgehog with their fusion machine. There you go. The science badge in the beginning. I think the funniest part is Susie judging all the science projects.
I love the moment she has with Hedgehog just before going to judge Oscar.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I'll give you your ribbon in a moment. She
truly believes Hedgehog's going to get it.
It's like, oh, Pepper, you scamp. Like, I got that too. Yeah.
I'll just say the claiming credit for something your friend did for you is a very tired thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a very kid showy plot that's going on. Yeah. I think it's uniquely presenting it, but this is one of those episodes of these type of show where it's taking a common trope for this kind of show. Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of a unique twist on it with like an accidentally inventing versus claiming credit, but then you get to the Oscar then claims credit for it, although it doesn't focus on it a ton. But I like seeing all the hedgehogs, and I still think it was a fun episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucy does make an interesting argument for like, well, a lot of actual inventions were accident, penicillin and like other ones. So like, what is that? So did he like almost invent perfect? Like he made like a faulty cloning, but he did kind of make it by accident. Does he still get credit for that or not? I don't know.
Just like Columbus, I guess. Like, what the heck did he accomplish? Like
genocide.
Oscar's the Christopher Columbus. No. It was an intriguing point too in the middle of the episode.
I too know like definitely these last two batches Lucy definitely got a little more screen time in terms of.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
but the characters definitely sort of needs more bottom tier. Definitely Alice, Alexa, that panda person, and
Pepper.
Yeah, Pepper, and
he had a literal pillow book.
Yeah, I think those are characters that desperately need more like screen time in the next batch, even more so than say Betsy or Lucy or
I think
Max.
Betsy does, but this show is definitely. It's not consistently showing basically any character other than Oscar and Hedgehog, I'd say. I mean, Susie would be next, but even she's sidelined a little bit. I don't think it needs to show like Alexa more than once, but Alexa doesn't need to be a character, but it does prevent us from doing anything with Alexa in the future because she's not a character, so you'd have to like build her up more if you want to do something with her. I forgot about from the library. I really like the Dewey the Elf decimal system. It's like a literal elf named Dewey who's using like sonar to get to the book.
Oh, and I love the whole hedgehog thrown into the kids section as punishment.
That was so funny. Like, they don't kick her out of the library. They just put her in the kids section for a timeout.
Yeah.
And she bribes Panda Person.
Yeah, she bribes him.
Pepper.
No, Hedgehog was on fire.
Margot, the librarian there. And they're a lot of with badges, too, which I forget is like a thing in the show. But yeah, the library badge there and then the science badge before. So they're still doing badges. Yeah. Okay. Michelle, final thoughts on any of these episodes?
I love them all dearly, and I'm excited for more of the show. Whenever it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still high on Susie and Hedgehog and Barb, so they're like my top 3 at the moment, followed quickly by Jim Jams. Jim Jams is so good.
You didn't say at all about how you like Jim Jams.
No, because like the Pajama Jim Jams is still like my top episode of the whole show. It's just a perfectly paced, like hilarious from start to finish episode with like some real emotional weight for pajamas. It's just amazing. It's just a.
Where's pajamas on your favorite character list?
We had a pajamas episode.
Number 6, maybe.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Alex, final thoughts.
Love is complicated, emotions are complicated, friendships are complicated, and this show is best when it's dealing with young people trying to figure out all that stuff. And I think that this batch had a lot of that in varying degrees between Susie and Ramona, Hedgehog and Oscar, Hedgehog and Max. There's a lot of interpersonal stuff going on. And I think that this show has a good handle on that in this wild, crazy universe that they've invented. So Summer Camp Island is continuing to be good. And I think that its strength lies in the fact that its characters do a good job of eventually getting to a mature handling of how to deal with different situations.
Nice. Yeah. Steve, final thoughts.
Oh, well, I'm hoping we see more of the parallels between Oscar and Hedgehog with Susie and Ramona, because I hopefully do something there. I'm worried about Betsy. I hope she doesn't get too much like trouble for the whole wand thing. So, and definitely like to see more screen time from Alexa. They get to do more stuff here because I love that name. You don't waste that name on a nothing character, please. And what else? More Barb, please.
Yeah,
I love
more
Barb.
Barb. Barb is such a shining diamond of a character. Please bring her back more.
Yes, agree. Okay, I'll end on. I forgot to talk about how Max and Oscar is the OTP. So,
yes, Max.
Yeah, that's why. That's why Oscar.
2019.
That's why Max was like, "Hey, you're just a friend," you know. Is that Max doesn't swing that way, you know. Only into guys, and likes Oscar. So, and Oscar still think Oscar is also in the guys. So let's do that. Okay.
They were in the pool together.
They were.
Oh, okay. But that's the next arc on the show is the Max POV crush on Oscar.
We're gonna see his journal full of doodles of Oscar.
I did notice in the opening credits, I feel like Max is with Oscar and Hedgehog at the campfire, like at the end of the credits. None of the other side characters are, so maybe Max is supposed to be important.
He of all the other kids, he's the one that interacts with them more, I guess. Yeah. But Molly's like getting in there. So
Lucy, you mean?
Yeah, Lucy. Yeah. The thing is, so like, okay, I've had this discussion at work too. So the thing with Lucy is, so the American Girl Molly looks like the character Lucy in this show with like the glasses and everything. So like it just throws me every time.
American Girl. I thought you looked like the Marcy from Peanuts.
I mean that too, but I don't know. I get American Girl fine.
Okay, apparently confused American Girl with Summer Camp Island. Confused. I guess Max was also prominent in the pilot, which is why he might be in the intro.
Yeah.
When this show comes on with a lot of episodes, you watch the intro a lot. I gotta say, I think this intro is like really good and like perfect for the show.
The song is very fitting of the vibe.
Cozy.
Like I think it's like the intro of all our. We have a lot of good intros on our shows. I think this show's intro fits the show that it's for the best out of any intro.
Sometimes you can't judge a show by the intro. Believe me, I know. Recently, I've been watching this old cartoon called The Raccoons, and they keep the same intro throughout the series. And halfway through the series, there's this one character that sort of dropped from the show, and she's still in the intro like till the very end. So you can't really judge a show by intro sometimes. Especially look at Steven Universe. Look at Steven Universe. They haven't really done anything like for a long, long time with the intros. So
yeah, well, we'll see if we ever get a new intro for Summer Camp on. But the one we have is great. So
it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Let us know what you thought of these episodes on the comments on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated or on our website at overlyanimated.com. Come talk about it with us on our Discord at overlyanimated.com/Discord and support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, John, aka Johnny Bravo, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hugh, and Michael. We'll see when we get new episodes. Whenever it's back, at some point we'll be back to talk Summer Camp Island. Summer's ending, so clearly Cartoon Network's not allowed, as stated by Georgia law, Cartoon Network cannot air new episodes of Summer Camp Island not during the summer. So I guess we'll be done with the show for a year.
Maybe you still have
about that. Pure speculation on
nope.
Your part,
I've looked at the history of when the show airs, and
the history of the show is only like a year and a half old. What history is that?
We might get a holiday episode in winter time. So.
But it's always summer. There can't be
July
4th.
The
Yeti
they
didn't stop Gravity Falls from having a Halloween episode. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like a hedgehog forced upon the island a fall in the middle of summer, so they have magic. They can do whatever they want. It can be any
Christmas happen just like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They should have saved Midnight Quiddens for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this is a Thanksgiving
or
episode.
Christmas, honestly.
Look, I'm just saying, is Cartoon Network capable of airing the show not during the summer? I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So, I do think we also got at Comic-Con a preview of an episode that wasn't in this batch, so we know there's more episodes coming.
The mole one?
Yeah, the mole one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was cute, I guess.
It's
like mole court.
Closing question. What do we think of Oscar's new voice talent?
Oscar changed voice actors?
There was a shift. Okay.
Yeah,
I was
voice
wondering.
Is totally different for some episodes. How did you not notice that?
I thought I noticed that, but it's not even on Wikipedia yet. Okay.
But it's a new boy. Do you like him?
I'd have to go back and listen.
I don't think there's enough of a I mean, I did notice that it wasn't consistent episode to episode, but I guess maybe is it then that like there's still some episodes that are using the older voice actor? Is that the situation then?
I don't remember.
Do you know why there's a change?
Yeah,
because the first guy, he just like his voice broke, and it just it happens with a lot of shows. When you get older, your voice isn't the same, and so they go with a new younger kid.
Right.
It happens. Okay. It happened a lot on Hey Arnold too. Just saying, the Arnold kid went through like at least 4 different voice actors.
So it's why you get adult women to voice young boys. I guess
just like Ben 10, just get an older lady who can be legit, and you'll be fine for life.
Okay, I'll have to go look for that then. Apparently people have not noticed this, but
that's probably good then, because if you don't notice it, then
I did have a thought at one point, like Oscar's voice sounds a little weird, but I didn't follow up on it.
Yeah, that's why it's a new person.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I don't know if we figured that.
I haven't even noticed Kelsey's new voice in Craig of the Creek.
That was a long time ago.
I know.
Old Kelsey only was for like a couple episodes.
Yeah, new Kelsey's consistent. It's fine. Okay, that's it. Thanks guys for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.